the equation of a line usually, typically. It's either written, it's either written like this, like something like 3x plus 2y equals 5. This is called, I mentioned this like last Friday, but this is called standard form, where you have the, remember we changed it to standard form on Friday, like we put the x's in front and the y's and the number. But it's kind of nice because it looks kind of clean, but it's not as useful for graphing. So if you get y by itself, if you solve for y, and you get something like this, this is called slope-intercept form. Why is it called slope-intercept form? Okay, that's... Alright, so in general, standard form looks like this. ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are some constant. Okay, the general form of slope-intercept looks like y equals mx plus b. You guys remember what m stood for? The slope, yeah. Okay, this is why it's called slope-intercept form. When you solve for y like this, when you get y by itself, the number in front of the x tells you the slope of the line. Okay, this other, so that's the slope. This other number actually tells you where the y-intercept is. On Friday, we did a few problems where they asked us to find the y-intercept. You remember how we did that? We made the x value into a 0. And if I plug in 0 for x here, what do I get for y? Negative 5. So when it's in slope-intercept form, this number out here is the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. And using those two pieces of information, I can make a graph out of it pretty easy. Remember that slope was equal to what over what? Rise over run. So, but this is not a fraction. So how do I turn 2 into a fraction? Put it over 1. So now I can see what the rise and the run is. So if it's a whole number, you can just, or a negative or whatever, you can just put it over 1, and then you have your rise and your run. But yeah. Anyway. So it's called slope-intercept form because when it's written in this form, it tells you the slope and the y-intercept right there. Okay, how would I actually graph that? Well, you need a point that's on the line, that we know is on the line, and that would be the y-intercept. Start with the y-intercept. The y-intercept is negative 5. That means it crosses the y-axis at negative 5, way down there. And then the slope is 2, which is the same thing as 2 over 1. So that's your rise and your run. So from this point that we know is on the line, I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. Put a dot. And you can do it as many times as you want. Rise 2 and run 1. Put a dot. And we're gonna graph with 3 points today, so that would be enough. But yeah, that gives you an idea what the graph looks like. Okay? Clear as mud? No, it's kind of a joke.
Yeah. This doesn't make sense though. This doesn't make it at least as clear as that. Like you can understand as mud is clear. Do you know what?
Have you ever seen clear mud before?
Doesn't it make any sense?
Clear mud.
So mud is not clear, right? So it doesn't matter if you don't understand. He's like, is that it's as clear as mud? But it's not clear. So do you see it, Shannon? So it's not supposed to be clear.
Okay, let's just move on.
So Mr. Jordan made a hard math
It
problem?
doesn't make any sense.
Why would you do that?
It does.
My life is a lie, Mr. Jordan.
It's kind of like I'm asking, so does that make sense? But it's more like I'm asking, so does that not make any sense? Because mud's not clear. All right, number 1.
So it doesn't make sense. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm asking. Okay. Yeah, I think we're ready to just jump in here. So on number 1, it says state the slope and y-intercept of each linear equation. We haven't seen a lot of, I only gave you one example, so let's see if you guys know. On number 1, what would the slope of that line be? 3. Slope comes first. Slope is the number in front of the x. So I'm going to put m equals 3 because remember m stood for slope. Okay, what is the y-intercept? It's at 4. I would probably say it's okay to say it's just at 4, but I'm going to call it 0, 4, because that would be its location on the graph. Okay. Number 3, we're already getting into a tricky question. Y equals negative x. Anybody think they might know what the slope for that one is? Right. There's an invisible number right here, right? -1. So the slope on number 3 is -1. But what's the y-intercept? Yeah, if there's nothing out here, that's like a what?
0.
That's like a 0. So the y-intercept is at 0. So this is the problem. These are the answers down here. Okay, on number 4, it's also weird, so we need to talk about it. Okay. I don't see any x's on number 4. So what number is in front of the x? 0. If there's no x's, that's like a 0x, right? And then there is a 6 in there though, so that's kind of like 0 plus 6. So it's 0x plus 6. So what is the slope on number 4 then?
0.
And what is the y-intercept?
0.
0 and 0, 6. Shh, Grant. That would be a good time to practice not being the center of attention. Okay, number 5 says y equals 2x minus 1. What is the y-intercept on number 5? -1. So it should cross the y-axis at -1. You guys know where that is on the graph? It's down below, it's like right here somewhere, right? Okay, so this is a matching. Which of A, B, C, and D, which of those is crossing the axis or the y-axis at negative something? D and C. Okay, don't put that. What is the slope on number 5?
-2. I mean, 2.
Positive 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got kind of 2 options. Which of these has a positive slope?
C.
Okay.
Well, that one, left one.
This
left,
one
left to right,
or this
left to
one?
right. Or bottom left to right. C.
Okay, this one is a positive slope. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
So which option is that? C.
Oh, that one.
Okay, on number 7, what is the y-intercept?
That one.
Positive 1. Which of those options have a positive y-intercept?
A.
I didn't write it down, Paxton.
Positive.
A and B both have a positive y-intercept. See, because they're crossing the y-axis above the x-axis. So they're crossing maybe a positive 1 or something. Okay, what is the slope on number 7? -2. Does A or B have a negative slope? B. So B would be the answer for 7. You guys see how I did that?
Wait, just B?
Yes. Both A and B have a positive y-intercept, but only B has a negative slope. So it meets both qualifications. Okay, number 9 is graphing. So You can go ahead and make a cross on your graph paper as you get it here. Number 5 was C.
Is, 9 to 14 the only ones that are gonna be graphed?
No, the last two are also graphs. So there's
Okay.
8 graphs. Okay, number 9. You guys remember my one example? I only did one so far. How did I start the graph?
We changed it to,
Huh?
like, we did a fraction thing.
I started with the y-intercept. So on number 9, if you look at that equation, y equals negative 2x plus 4, what is the y-intercept going to be? Positive 4. So on your graph, you're going to go up to 4 on the y-axis and put a dot. Okay, that's the point that the line is on. That's on the line. So what is the slope? Negative 2, or what's that as a fraction? Okay, so remember that means rise over run. So we're going to rise negative 2, which means we're going to go down 2. And we're going to run positive 1. I want 3 points on this, so I'm going to do it again. Rise negative 2, run 1. Okay, you guys remember from yesterday, negative 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2 over negative 1. So we could go backwards. We could go up 2 and back 1. See how that's on the same line?
Yeah.
But you only have to have 3 points. If you're going to go off the graph, you might want to go backwards instead.
I would not be very good about it.
Go banana.
Okay, number 11. Where did we start? How did we start the graph last time? Y-intercept. What is the y-intercept on number 11? Positive 5. So I'm going to go up 5 on my graph and put a dot. Okay, the slope is negative 1/4. So we can think of that as negative 1 over 4 or 1 over negative 4. So my rise is negative 1 and my run is 4. Rise negative 1. So it's basically it's down 1, right 4. Down 1, right 4. If I go down 1 and right 4 again, I'm going to be off my graph, so I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to go up 1 and back left 4.
What was the rise again?
The rise is the top. Rise over run. So the rise is negative 1 and the run is 4. So when you see negative 1/4, you should start thinking like that's down 1, right 4, basically. Or if you go backwards, it's up 1, left 4. Okay, we need to talk about 12. We've seen this a few times, although you guys probably forgot still. What do I do when it just says y equals negative 2?
2 over 1
So it's 12, not 13.
0.
Yeah, that's like y equals 0x minus 2. Remember on couple of the homework assignments, like we made an XY table, and this means y is always -2, like this.
Oh.
And then the slope, or the x value can be anything, like, you know, whatever, 1, 2, 3. So, 1, -2, 2, -2, 3, -2. Okay, so if it just says y equals -2, you basically go down to the on the y-axis to -2, and you draw a horizontal line through it. If it says y equals -2, you go to -2 on the y-axis and draw a horizontal line.
Oh.
So guess what happens if it just says something like x equals 3? What would we do? What would we do in that case? Go to 3 on the x-axis and
Draw a line up and down.
yes,
Yes.
all the x values on this vertical line are 3. That's why we do that. So those are the two weird cases. This is actually number 12. This is nothing right now. We'll have to do it
Yeah.
later.
I almost was about to cry.
Okay. So number 12 is the only one that looks like that. Number 13 looks more like normal. Y equals 2/3 x plus 2. So where do I start the graph at? 2 on the y-axis. So right there.
Repetition is key.
Okay. 2/3 is the slope. Who? Let's try somebody. Maybe besides Isa. Because you keep saying this. Katie said a few also. All right, Grant.
Yay. Okay, so do we go 2 up and 3 to the right?
Yes. Rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, run 3. Rise 2, run 3.
On my graph, I couldn't go that far up, so I just moved down.
Okay, yeah, you can also go backwards. Now here's something, I don't know, you guys probably know this. You know 2/3 is the same thing as -2 and over -3?
Because it can't take it right.
That's like going down 2 and left 3. That's also on the same line. If your line's not perfectly straight, well, you either drew a bad line or maybe one of your dots is off, possibly. My graph is handmade, so it's not perfect. I mean, these little crosshatch things. Anyways, okay. Okay, number 15 is not graphing. It says, write each equation in slope-intercept form, then state the slope and y-intercept. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. To change standard form, 3x plus y equals 5. To change standard form into slope-intercept form, you basically have to solve for y. You got to get y by itself. So how do I get y by itself? Subtract 3x. 3x is added to y, so to get rid of it, I have to take 3x away from both sides. But just like on Friday, I'm not going to write 5 minus 3x.
-3x plus 5.
Yeah. Because that is slope-intercept form. I just remembered, we're also supposed to state the slope and y-intercept. So what would the slope be then? -3, and the y-intercept is at 0, 5. All of that's the answers. Number 17, x plus 7y equals 14. You have to subtract the x just like the other one, but you'll have a negative in front of the y, which means you have to divide everything by -1. So it'll switch all the signs from positive, negative, negative, positive. 17x plus 7y equals 14. Alright, what do I do first on this one? Subtract x. Still trying to get y by itself, but usually we do the division after the addition subtraction. So I'm going to subtract the x first. Instead of 14 minus x, I'm going to put minus x plus 14. Now what am I about to do?
Divide by 7.
Alright, the last problem we didn't have to do this, but there's still a 7 on the y, multiplied to y, so I have to divide it away. Every term gets divided by 7. Y equals, okay, I'm not going to write negative x over 7, although technically that would be correct. What's the invisible number right here?
One.
-1. So really this is the same thing as -1/7 x. Why did I put the x on the outside, not on the top?
Because it's being multiplied.
Okay, it's because x is the same thing as x over 1. So when you multiply by x, you can put it on the top or you can just put it off to the side. That's the same thing. It's like the x is on top, or you can just put it times x to the side. It's same thing. And this is slope intercept one. Plus 14 divided by 7 is 2. What is the slope? -1/7. And what is the y-intercept?
0, 2.
2.
This part is fun. I am enjoying myself. I am smiling.
How can you be smiling? It's math.
I'm not smiling.
It's sarcastic.
Like, it's near impossible to smile very much.
I wish. The girls are giggling all the time. And the boys, for that matter.
Hey, we only giggle about the manly things of life. They
Yeah,
giggle about women.
like lifting rocks. Old.
Yeah, we giggle about calico shot.
What does that even mean?
That is not something to laugh about. It's so weird.
Gosh.
Just
Okay.
think about it.
Dead cowboy.
Alright, who wants help with this one? Macy does, that's surprising. Grant, I already called on you, so I'm not gonna call him. Nobody? Well,
I volunteer myself.
Hope.
Maybe.
Oh. Okay. So, you have 8x, right?
Subtract 8x. So on the left, what do we have left on the left side?
-3y.
-3y. I'm going to put -8x in front of plus 9.
And then we divide it.
Divide by -3 on every term. -3, -3. That goes away. How does this simplify? -8 divided by -3.
8.
Positive 8/3. X. 9 divided by -3. So instead of plus -3, you just put -3. What is the slope? And what's the y-intercept? I guess I haven't been labeling it y-intercepts. guys done with your,
already did it.
are you guys done with your presentations yet?
Nah, I didn't
I
have
still
first,
didn't
so I
like
can
my-
just like wait for a week and do nothing.
I don't like that I admitted that I punched my sister in the car and
There's some advantage to
Keith and
having,
I are doing it today in South Carolina.
yeah, people should have been there to see me talk
Yeah,
about
wait.
beating up my sister.
We can just move the schedule forward, so like.
Dude,
delivery
I
goes
regret it,
tomorrow,
like,
goes today.
No regret.
Well, because Easton's gone.
Yeah, I think Lisa's gonna go,
Right.
and then Jaden's gonna
Okay,
go
if you have the opportunity, you beat up
and then Easton gets
Yeah.
You start here, folks. Caden, if given the opportunity, would like to beat up his sister Olivia.
okay,
Confirmed.
this one might, scare us off.
Yeah.
Anybody-
Yeah, can I go to the bathroom so I don't have to do it?
Oh.
Okay. Does anybody wanna try this one? Alright, Eli,
No.
he's got the quickest draw.
Subtract dx from that side and put it on the other. It would be y equals negative dx. Okay. Plus k.
Is that it?
I think so.
Yes. Okay, here's the question though. What if there had been something in front of the y, like a cy or something? Divide by c. What would that look like? It would look like
Everything divided by c.
y equals negative d over c x plus k over c.
Oh, that's a lot.
Okay, the reason I'm saying that is because one of the evens is kind of like that. Like, I think it's actually 22. So on 22, how would you get y by itself?
Divide by R.
Divide by r. So it's kind of going to be like that, except for an r in the
Can you
denominator.
put like a big line under all of it and put r? Like you're dividing all of it just by r?
You could, but it wouldn't be slope-intercept form. It would be illegal, but
Wait.
You have no rest.
it's not slope-intercept form, so that's not what we're going to do. Let me back up and put the actual right answer, just make sure. Don't put that other thing I wrote, because that was just an example.
Why are you keeping me off, guys?
Okay, 21. This is kind of combining what we just did with actually graphing it.
23.
Or 23.
All
All right.
Wait, you now need the n.
Yeah, what do we do for slope and line?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that.
Oh, I thought it was
What's the slope on this one?
Negative d2.
Negative d. And what's the y-intercept?
0 k.
0k.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those look like okay.
Oh,
You're really
that's such a
smart.
coincidence.
Huh?
Hashtag
You
relatable.
like the jokes about this.
I do too.
So you're fine.
And yours.
Yeah.
You're gonna take like
I'm
a season so much. You guys can practice it and study it. No, you keep laughing.
Ugh.
You're gonna make me laugh. No, you're legit gonna start laughing during
All right.
Just making sure.
Is this written in slope-intercept form?
No.
No.
Yeah.
What form is this written in?
Why?
Standard.
Standard.
Okay.
How do I change it to slope-intercept form?
Minus 2.
Minus 2x. So if I subtract 2x, I'm going to get y equals negative 2x plus 5, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's not wrong. You know what they say?
All right. Where am I going to start at on the graph?
Y intercept.
Up 5. And where am I going to go from there? What is the slope on this one? Negative 2 or negative 2 over 1. So we're going to rise negative 2 and we're going to run 1, positive 1. So rise negative 2, run 1. Rise negative 2, run 1.
That one was so hard.
You have 20 minutes to tell.
I think I'm crying.
You ready?
Okay, we got about 15 minutes. Why don't you guys try finish the evens?